Welcome to Your Best Bets. I'm Zach Fitzgerald, and Phil Miller is on vacation. It's Masters Week, one of the greatest weeks of the year in golf. I'm joined by a man who, until last week, I did not know was a doppelganger of mine. Johnny Strasser, how are you?
Well, now I'm pretty good now that I know that we get mistaken at the golf course, there. I guess you were at or yeah, you were at Brookwood last week, and then I was you were kind of accused of looking like me, which I guess that's good because it's our podcast tonight. We're just going to say it's a great thing and everything like that. So that's pretty cool there. But yeah, just going to be us two tonight. Phil, it is spring break, so Phil is enjoying some sunny beach weather. Said he's going to play some golf this week, so that's pretty cool. But you know what? This is a 2023 Masters. I mean, this is it. This is like what football players or football fans look for the Super Bowl. I think even non-golf fans love this week, don't you think?
I would think so. I mean, it's certainly the most prestigious in America for sure. I would say that maybe the Open Championship worldwide possibly might outdo the Masters only because of how long it's been going on and that it's more of an international tournament. But for me, and I would say everybody I know, the Masters is definitely the end all be all. When you ask most, especially American players and a lot of European players, the Masters is kind of the major that they would prefer to win. And certainly for me, if I was ever given the opportunity to play in a major, it would certainly be the Masters. Yeah, I mean, always creates one of the best tournaments of the year. One of the best nine-hole finishing holes on the entire tour. I am greatly looking forward to it. I think that prior to the show, we've discussed some topics that I think are going to be really fun, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, like you know, they had an event, the Valero Texas Open last week, and that was fine, but we just kind of wanted to focus this particular show on the Masters because there is so much content. I mean, we're probably, in addition, I guess, looking like the same person here, we could probably talk about Augusta National Golf Club and the Masters and all that stuff just for hours and hours and hours on end. So we're going to try to condense it a little bit here, and we've kind of come up with some topics and everything that aren't totally on the golf course type things. So hoping to give the casual fans that are listening in here, not only that we're going to talk about our bets and everything like that, but just talk a little bit about just some of the uniqueness and traditions and just kind of greatness of what the week holds there. So, I think we both agree that it is special. I would probably, if I like you said, if I had the choice of playing in any one major at any, with the other course rotations and everything of like the U.S. Open, the PGA, and the Open Championship, I'd still choose Augusta National in a heartbeat there. So, I mean, I feel the same way. This is great because it's been what 8 months or something like that since we've had a major championship. So, I think a lot of golf fans are dying for good golf, for riveting golf, and Augusta National seems to bring it just about year in and year out there. So, with that being said, I was thinking about this. We watch the Masters every single year, and we've got events that we like, or we've got years that we like, we got years that we dislike. Maybe it was because of the winner, and usually that ends up being the case. Um, is there a particular Masters, and we're going to throw out 2019 here. We're just going to have to throw out 2019. That was when Tiger, came back and won that major or won the Masters after all that had happened with the fuse back and everything. Is there a particular Masters in your lifetime that just kind of sets itself apart?
I went back and I looked at some of the great masters. I had to kind of relive some of them through Word, but 2013 when Adam Scott won in a playoff against Cabrera, and they both birdied 18, which is kind of not a hole that you birdie to get into the playoff. Scott birdies it, thinking, "Hey, I just won my first major," and then after that, Cabrera comes and birdies it, and then Scott beats him on the second hole. That for me, especially being an Adam Scott fan, that one's big. I wasn't around to see Jack win 86. I was obviously alive, but not really into golf. You could say Tiger in 97, but still at that point, I was playing golf, but I wouldn't necessarily say that I was into it. Um, So for me, it's going to be 2013. I think there's a lot of really good ones. I think 2019. Obviously, we can't pick that one, but still got to talk about it a little bit. I just remember being at Riverbend. We had played a round before the final round, and just like 10 of us sitting around and just going crazy as Tigers winning, or, you know, everybody hits it in the water on 12 and gasps. It was insane. So that for me, 2013. Aside from 2019, what about yourself?
Well, that is that 2019 that I think everybody is going to remember that, and it's just and it was a morning round because they had to move the tee times up, and it was kind of cool. You just woke up and boom, there's the Masters right there, and by before dinner time, the event he was crowned champion and everything. So I did ask Phil earlier in the week. I did kind of ask him what do you think, what's your favorite one. He didn't really even come up with one. He said every one that Tiger won, and that's a great answer, Phil. We can kind of bash him right now because I'm going to post this regardless of whether he wants to or not. So that's not a good answer there. I really was hoping he'd do a little bit more effort, but I guess when you're on a sandy beach and you're not really you don't really care. So with that being said, so I've got two. I'm going to come up with two here. One's a little bit older, but it's within our lifetime here. One of my favorite players of all time, my first real favorite player, the guy that I rooted for, was Ben Crenshaw. I don't know. I think because my dad liked him and he was such a great short game and everything. And I can remember he did an instructional video on VHS, and it opened with like a highlight film of his back nine at the '84 Masters when he made everything. He just made anything in sight and won that. And I can remember watching that VHS tape, just wearing it out there. Well, 1995, that was my freshman year of high school, I believe. Um, he came to the Masters as a former Masters champion there with no game whatsoever, and that's when his longtime teacher Harvey Penick passed away earlier that week. He flew to back to Austin, Texas, to be a pallbearer for the event, for the funeral. Excuse me. Came back to the Masters, was hitting it like shit that Wednesday. And his longtime caddy at the Masters, Carl Jackson, who I think just celebrated his 54th year as a caddy at the Augusta National Golf Club, mentions it to him: move the ball up a quarter inch in your stance there. Ends up striping it after that, and that was a pretty riveting one because he jumped out to a big lead, held the lead, and just kind of had to hang on, and was getting bounces left and right. And he had Davis Love, who was playing really, really well behind him, and was just couldn't quite get a putt to fall, but was hitting a lot of good golf shots. And it was just really intense, that entire back nine there. And then ends up winning it, breaking down, crying, and all that stuff. Was a real cool moment. And that was like, that's kind of neat. I was an
Mhm.
early teenager at that time, and I was like, yep, that was my guy. Finally, a guy I wanted to won that. The modern day one though that I wanna mention is the 2010 Phil Mickelson win. That was when his wife had cancer, his mother had cancer. That was the Jim Nantz, a win for the family. Anthony Kim shot one of the most amazing 65s. I think it was 11 birdies, shot 65, finished third place. Tiger, that was after the scandal of his then wife breaking out the window in his car. He took a couple months off, came back, ended up finishing fourth place there. You had Fred Couples, who at the time was a senior. He finished tied for fourth. Ended up being just a pretty amazing event there. And that's when I think he shot like a backside, Mickelson anyway, shot a backside 30 or something, just birdied like every single hole coming in. And it was just like, oh my goodness, this is the part where I realized, what, that back nine is just something special. They always say
Mhm.
the Masters, starts on the back nine on Sunday, and that's kind of when it did. So that was definitely really, really cool there. So that's kind of what I'm a big fan of that one there. Um, but there seem to be good every single year. So I'm just hoping that we get the same type of thing. I think that's something that we could end up seeing there. So um, what I wanted to talk about, and we've never really talked about it here on the show, is the Champions Dinner. So every Wednesday night, started in 1953, I think, with Ben Hogan. He had Friday nights where he hosted all of the past champions, and whether they were playing or not, they were invited to the champions dinner. The it ended up where they all ordered whatever, and then the champion would pick up the entire tab. Shortly after, within a decade later, they had the defending champion chose the entire menu, and a lot of times it was more local to what they from where they're from, or just some childhood favorites of theirs, and it always typically is a pretty good menu there. And they have all the former champions. I mean, you've got Jack Nicklaus, you've got Tiger, you've got Marco Mira, you've just got everybody, and they all arrange Wednesday night, have that dinner, share stories. The defending champion gives a little speech and then picks up the tab. So it ends up being a pretty cool evening. And I don't know about you, I was looking at some past dinners here. So just for context here, Scotty Scheffler picks, and I'm reading his menu right now. For hors d'oeuvres, it's cheeseburger sliders served Scotty style. Not quite sure what that is. Firecracker shrimp, appetizer of tortilla soup with avocado, crispy blue tortilla strips, sour cream, cilantro, and lime. Main course of some Texas ribeye or blackened redfish, which sounds good. Sounds good. And then family style mac and cheese, cream corn, Brussels sprouts, seasoned fries, and with a skillet cookie with milk and cookies and cream ice cream. That sounds pretty freaking good there. So I know I asked you to check and look and see which ones you liked of the past several years there. Is there a dinner that sets itself apart from the other ones?
There is. I just want to talk about Scheffler's. I
Hmm.
think Scheffler's is fantastic. I mean, I think that really there's something for anybody there, and with him being from Texas, that's kind of a home style type. The firecracker shrimp is a little bit of a deviation from that, but still fantastic. I think that that's really good. The thing that I noticed about a lot of them is that a lot of people do a ribeye steak or a steak of some kind. So, um, although I really like steak, I had steak tonight. I'm certainly not going to knock steak. My favorite is Spieth 2016. I'm a barbecue guy. You give me a local green salad as an appetizer, and then Texas barbecue with brisket, half chicken, or barbecue ribs, barbecued baked beans, bacon and cheese potato salad, sauteed green beans, grilled zucchini, and roasted yellow squash. And then finish that off with vanilla ice cream and a warm chocolate chip cookie. I don't think it gets a whole lot better than that. That's like a smorgasbord of fantasticness. I was reading all of these this morning on the way to work as my partner was driving to our first job. And I really just wanted to text you guys. It was a little bit too early in the morning, but I really wanted to text you that all it did was make me hungry.
Yeah.
And, it was a pleasure to read everybody's menu. There were some pretty eclectic things. There were some other ones that certainly I would have gone for. I don't really want to like steal. I have no idea what your pick is. This is not something that we discussed previously, so I don't really want to say anybody else. But there were certainly some other meals that if this wasn't the one that I would have gone for. So yeah, that Spieth meal seems like it could be like literally last meal type meal for me. So
Yeah, that was up there. I mean, smoked brisket and chicken and pork ribs. I mean, come on. I mean, that you can't go wrong with that, as long as that's done right there. And actually, ironically enough, I did ask Phil what he thought. And so when it comes to picking, like, a Masters that he likes, he can't do that. But when you talk about food with him, evidently that's something that he's very passionate about. He did pick the Spieth meal as his favorite, with a
okay.
close runner-up of Adam Scott, which was the arugula salad with calamari, the Wagyu beef, New York strip, uh, Morton Bay lobster, which is I mean, that's a good one too. I mean, you can get the surf and turf. That's really really hard one to argue against there. So and I looked at mine as well. I saw some of them, like, you know Tiger. I remember Tiger when he won his first one was cheeseburgers, and
Yeah.
like French fries. interesting, but you know what? If you're, essentially the greatest of all time, or going to be that way, you know what? You're going to say you're going to eat cheeseburgers and grilled chicken sandwiches and milkshakes and be good with it. And
Yeah, but
you
didn't
know,
Fuzzy say that he was going to bring fried chicken and collard greens? I mean, so, that's kind
yeah,
of like just a slap into the establishment's face, really, there.
yeah, that
So
was a
Tiger doesn't,
little.
if you look at Tiger's other meals, he doesn't go extravagant, really,
n-
so.
No, he did do the porterhouse one year,
Hmm.
which that's a good one, and obviously beef. That's
Hmm.
the best choice there. Let me get to mine first, and there's a couple others I do want to mention there. The first and only, and that's it, is Hideki back in 2021. Um, I mean, game over. They don't need to have this dinner anymore here. I mean, it's got sushi, sashimi, and nigiri, chicken skewers, and then the main dish was glazed black cod with dashi broth, A5 Wagyu beef
Yeah.
ribeyes with mixed mushrooms and vegetables, and a Japanese style dessert. I mean, you throw the Wagyu beef ribeye and you had me right there. And I'm a cod fan as well. I do like my seafood, so that one right there, it was just like, you know what, I'm kind of okay with that right there. And the more I thought about it, I think Spieth's is going to be second with the smoked foods, but Decky for the win there, and I think that's going to be a tough one to beat there. One of the ones that just irritated me though, so Bubba Watson's won twice.
Hmm.
He said the same thing, which is a Caesar salad, grilled chicken breast, green beans, mashed potatoes, corn, mac and cheese, confetti cake with vanilla ice cream. That's a good solid meal. That's just, that's a
Hmm.
good meal. But I just having it twice, and then that is kind of like the one meal that you're gonna share with other as like your main thing there. It's kind of a Bubba pick. I mean, there's other worse meals on here, but it just seems pretty basic, don't you think?
Well, he's a very basic guy. He's
Yeah,
God, golf, and family. I mean, that's his thing. So, I mean, to me, that like that obviously Hideki's and Hideki's would be my second meal, undoubtedly. Like I had to flip flop between he and Spieth. It's those two are just so fantastic that really it's depending on the day. So in to me though, Bubba just speaks Bubba more than any of the other ones, I mean, like it's just so why would Bubba not pick that? I mean, that's probably like his favorite meal at home. Like when his wife's like, "Hey, what do you want tonight?" It's literally probably that. Like Bubba brought his favorite meal at home and
it
wanted to share it with everybody else. Bubba's an emotional guy. I mean, he wanted to share his favorite meal.
it that makes a lot of sense. I never thought about it that way. Is you want the champion to serve something that's like really personal to them,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, look, we've got Charles Schwartzel, South African, spiced biltong, which is a South African dried beef, and I think
Mm-hmm. It's like a
Sandy Lyle served haggis, and
mm-hmm.
so I guess that does make a lot of sense there. And maybe just something he's comfortable with. I was reading some articles yesterday on the Champions Dinner, and I think it was Zach Johnson. They interviewed him, and he said he is extremely picky. So I wonder if he's one of those picky eaters that give me the chicken, give me the Caesar salad, give me the normal sides. Don't give me anything fancy. And that I guess that does fit Bubba's personality quite a bit.
I just want like a room like out there where I just have like a glory hole to watch and listen to everybody. That's all I want. I just
Oh my
want to
God.
be able to watch that. That like when people are like, if you could have dinner anywhere, obviously you're going to talk about your family and all that stuff. But like for me, if I could just be part of one Champions Dinner and hear those stories, it would be uh,
I
excellent. I can't imagine something that would be as exhilarating in golf as that. Truly, I mean that would just be amazing.
That's a great point. That's a great point because yeah, I mean, I think that's what makes it so interesting, and at least among golf, like golf Twitter, how it's exploded of what the Champions Dinner is and what it means and everything. And just imagine, you've got all these great players, and they're all invited, and they're all talking about stories of how they beat this guy down the stretch, or the shot they hit here and the shot they hit there, and just to hear those stories from the players' point of view, essentially of how they won their Masters. to be a fly on the wall would be just incredible there. So I think there's a reason why it doesn't get out. Everybody just kind of keeps it private. I think some of it's inappropriate, but a lot of it is, they just want to talk about how, they just want to talk about the stories that nobody else has gone through, and that's winning a Masters. And I think that'd be so good. That'd just be so good to go to.
And I was also thinking, now that we're talking about Bubba, the other favorite Masters was the Bubba playoff, the incredible wedge shot that he hit out of the woods.
Yeah.
That one was pretty awesome as well. I know that a lot of people are kind of polar on Bubba, but I like Bubba. I mean, he's kind of gritty at times, but he's honest, and I appreciate the honesty. And I don't think he hides a lot, and I just think he tells people how he feels, and that at least I can trust the guy and know how he feels. So that was another one, Masters wise, that I really did enjoy the ones that he's won. I think every Masters has great shots, but it's the guys I think that win and then their reactions that are great. It was great to watch Matsuyama win and or yeah and see what, because I think that for us in America we've had so many heroes in golf that it when somebody from America wins, you're like, yeah, that's another guy aside from Tiger. But, like in Japan, he's bigger than Tiger or bigger
Mhm.
than Tiger ever was. So, like he's a god over there. So for him to win a major, to become the first Asian or Japanese player to win a major was monstrous. And especially since it being the Masters. So, that's I kind of I look forward this year to maybe seeing that again, somebody win and really elevating and yeah, that's what I think this tournament means to people. Is it? I just think it's so emotional that when a new person wins, I think that it's absolutely life changing. They all are, but I think this one on a whole different level.
I think so too. I think, if you pick a guy who's won, let's say, a PGA championship, I don't think I think it doesn't even stand nearly as reverent and of fame than winning a green jacket, just because, like I said, it relates to the hardcore golf fans. It relates to the, just the golf fans in general. It relates to people who don't even know what golf is, but they know what that green jacket is. So, I was watching the Jordan Spieth interview. They interviewed him today in the press room, and he said that he can go to, let's say he went to a basketball game or something like that and had a trophy. Nobody would really know what that trophy is, but when he walked into a Mavs game, he said with the green jacket, everybody knew. You just know what that is there. So I think that's what I think we're properly, saying how important this is, and I don't think we're understating anything. It's just it's that big. And I know there's other people that might have different opinions on it because it's a smaller field and they may view it as, playing the same golf course, so it fits a certain type of golfer or whatever. But the Masters is the Masters. Anytime a Masters champion, or anytime somebody wins and becomes a Masters champion, it just makes it all the more revered. It kind of caps off whatever career that they had. They'll always be known as that Masters champion. So,
Mm-hmm.
but one other thing is the golf course itself. It's now it's on video games, but you see it all the time in shows, in watching videos. It's one of the more photographed golf courses, especially during Masters Week when the azaleas and dogwoods are blooming. It's manicured to perfection. And I think what's cool about it is that, like, if you watch the Masters year in and year out, you, like, as golf fans, the slopes, the elevations, everything about it there. Is there, I mean, what do you love about like, I know there's a lot of things, but if you had to pick like one thing that you loved about Augusta, just about the Augusta National Golf Club itself, just the golf course, not really Masters related, what would something like that be?
I would say that my like and hate are currently the same when it comes to the Augusta Golf Course. My favorite thing about Augusta, we've already talked about, is the back nine. I mean, I think that it's so exciting. It gives the ability for eagles, for multiple birdies, multiple changes. I mean, we've seen it multiple years. People come from way back and when, and we've seen multiple lead changes. It's also the thing that I hate currently right now because they've changed the back nine a little bit. People are talking about potentially having to lay up on 13 and depending on the wind, maybe laying up on 15, and that takes some of the excitement away from it. And although I like to see a tough golf course and I don't necessarily want to see them beat the doors down, I mean, when we say things like the Masters doesn't start until the back nine on Sunday, does that really mean the same thing anymore if we're just laying up on 13 and 15? That is a concern of mine. It really is. I think it'll still obviously be exciting because it's the Masters, but if that is the case, that people are going to have to lay up on 13, if the leaders are going to have to lay up on 13 and 15 uh, on Sunday, it's going to take some of the allure away from it, in my opinion. Aside from that, I just think that it's beautiful. I mean, you can watch it on TV, and you can see all the colors and whatnot. But finally, we're starting to get cameras that are good enough and some angles that are good enough to show the actual elevation changes. And the old cameras would never show that. It looked like a 2D image, and it looked beautiful, but you didn't realize that it was as undulating as what it is. So I just think that it's beautiful. It's my favorite golf course to watch on TV, and it's not just because it's the Masters. It's simply I think it just looks better than everything else. Um, and I just think 12 is one of the coolest par threes in the world. So watching that, people say 17 at TPC, but I think the green's smaller at 12. It's just so shallow. And I mean, the wind swirling and that little bowl right there, and
Yep.
it's a little bit downhill. So uh, that just seems like a terrifying shot to me. So I would say that those are the things that I just can't imagine. You and I have both played in tournaments, and I'm assuming that I've never been inside your brain, and we haven't really talked about this, but I get very nervous coming down the end, and I'm sure that most people do. Probably the guys that don't win a whole bunch of tournaments, but I cannot imagine like having the lead or being close and then getting over that tee shot with even a little bit of wind. Do you just bail out to the short side left and try to hit a 50-foot putt across the green and just be like, I'm totally taking the bunkers or water out of play, or do you just go for it? I don't know. It's
Yeah.
terrifying.
Well, I think anybody who's contended in any level, whether it's the Masters, whether it's the club championship, whether it's anything in between, or whether it's just a $10 Nassau in a game. I think if you feel everybody feels nervous, and if you're not nervous, you don't care. And I think that's a big thing. Now, what makes a guy like Tiger or Jack Nicklaus or any champion who's won a lot of big time events there is they're controlling their emotions. They're able to they feel uncomfortable, but they're comfortable with feeling uncomfortable. They know what that they know those feelings and everything. But yeah, imagine hitting a shot. And what you're talking about is the 12th hole at Augusta. They always have that right pin, and it always seems to play a little bit longer. And they've got that swirling wind because it's in a valley, and it's hard to with the tall Georgia pines behind it. It's hard to really get a good grasp of where the wind's at. So a lot of guys have gone for that pin on Sundays at that right pin and always end up, short. You look at 2019 when he was playing, Tiger was playing with Frank Molinari and who was playing unbelievable. He was the defending Open champion, and then Tony Finau. They both went for that pin to the right there. Both hit it in the water, and Tiger hit it to 60 feet. And hit a bad first putt, but he ended up making like a 5-footer or something like that for par. That put him in the lead, and that was it. So, that's the type of thing that I think is very, very compelling because it's only a little 8-iron or 9-iron shot into down in that valley across the river there, but it means so much, and it's such a hard target to hit. And then you've got only your 65 holes into a 72 hole tournament there, so you've got you got that is if you dump it in the water there, you're going to run out of holes, pretty much there. So but that right there, and then 13 is a very pivotal hole, like you said. It's the hard dog leg left par five. They moved the tees back 35 yards. They finally bought some property that they've been trying to acquire next to the Augusta Country Club, and it is going to look like it's going to make it almost a 3-shot hole for a lot of the medium length hitters. I think the big hitters will still be able to get to it, and I think that will take away some of the excitement. But I think you're going to look, though, come Sunday, a lot of guys are going to try to hit 3 woods or hybrids or 4 irons into that, and it could end up being pretty interesting there. The one thing, and I did ask Phil again, so I guess Phil's just like mostly part of this podcast, even though he's not
It's
talking.
his show.
Jesus. So Phil likes, and I agree with, is the slopes, the greens are crazy. The greens are lightning fast, and everything is shaved down, so you don't have that cushion underneath the ball. Is it really forces guys to have good short games, good chipping, good pitching? You gotta be creative, because you gotta look at the slopes. You can't, the hole's over here, you've got to be looking maybe over here, because the ball's gonna trickle on over, just through sheer gravity and everything. And it gives you a whole lot of different options there. That is one thing that's always been great about it. It's always been the fairways are wider because it's mostly just all fairway. There's just basically fairway, a small first cut, and then pine straw, but it is wide enough. But you've got to really know where to put the ball. And then you got to be able to get up and down quite a bit, because you're going to miss your fair share of greens. And I think that's something I like about it. And then one thing I don't like, and it's hard to say anything you don't like about the Augusta National Golf Club, is that I don't think the golf course typically plays firm and fast enough for the length that they put it. I was talking to Phil about that, and he's like, it only kind of tailors itself to big hitters, because it used to be a 6,900-yard golf course, which is a chip and putt for the modern day player. It's over 7,400 yards, and it is very, very elevated, both up and down. And they typically get the spring rains right now, which ends up making the golf course play a little bit longer. So it really kind of tailors itself to only those big hitters there. And when you take out a big chunk of the guys, that makes it kind of, it's still riveting and everything, and maybe it's still not predictable, but you can chop off 2/3 of the field or 3/4 of the field who don't hit the ball far enough there. And what I'd like to see Augusta is firm fairways, but really firm greens. And with the real firm, fast greens, I think that would make it very, very interesting with shots going in there. But if you had the firm fairways where guys were getting it further down the fairway and hitting still mid irons or whatever into the holes, I think that would not nullify the long hitters as much, but I think it would help out the shorter guys, and it would make it more interesting, because you'd have balls that would run off the green, and then you'd have to get creative with the chip shots. And if you look at guys who've just won, Scheffler and Tiger's even a long hitter, it really kind of DJ, and it really kind of tailors itself to that. Jordan Spieth's like the only guy who is not really a long hitter, but he hits it far enough. But his short game, his chipping, and his putting is excellent. So I think that's something that that really kind of sets itself up. And I'm not sure, though. I mean, would you like the greens to be like hard and fast, and where 8, 9, 10 under par wins it, rather than like 15, 16 under?
Like for me personally,
Yeah.
yes, because I don't stand a chance of making birdies like in a birdie barrage. But I think a hard golf course where par is a good score brings a lot more people, and I think the long hitter is going to make a lot more birdies. So um, I think that if 13 and 15 play longer, it actually brings the shorter hitters more into it, kind of more in the Johnson mold. But yeah, I think the whole game's going to power. So it's not just here; it's everywhere. So
Okay.
it is what it is, and everybody's getting stronger. I mean, Fitzpatrick gained what 20 some yards last year and won a
Yep.
major. So I mean, as the new generation comes in, just like as Tiger came in, and some of the chubbier guys that didn't work out that were good in the 70s and 80s started to kind of filter out and retire. The same thing will happen now. Some of the older guys will retire, and then everybody will hit the ball that far, and Tiger will
Yeah.
be considered a short hitter. And then, eventually, like by 2049, they'll be hitting at 6,000 yards, and courses will be 25,000 yards. And yeah, it'll be crazy. Golf will be fun. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I think for guys like you and me, I think the game, the PGA Tour game has passed us by. So I
Mm.
think our shot that we had, a few years ago, I don't see it anymore here because I played golf today and I don't hit it. I wasn't carrying it nearly as far as these guys. I was just a couple of
Yeah.
holes out there. I was a little bit shocked and everything. But anyways, back on the Masters there. So looking at the 2023 Masters, it has course hasn't really changed much from the past year. They generally make small changes here and there, and sometimes they announce them, sometimes they don't. Big thing this year actually was the par three course. They completely ripped that up and redid it and everything. And we're not really going to go into that because it's not anything that we're going to really really be looking at there. But 13 was the major change. They added that 35 yards there, which will make it different there. Um, I was looking here. I want to talk about Tiger Woods. Okay. Because we got to talk about him. He's getting healthier. He played in LA at the Genesis Open, his tournament that he hosts, ended up making the cut. Tailed off a little bit on the last day, but ended up, I think, finishing top 50 or so. But was further in contention through those first 3 days. Looked a lot healthier. His gait is the way he walked was a lot healthier looking. There wasn't the noticeable limp. Was really getting through the ball pretty well. Um, what's your expectations for him this week?
That's I just think it's hard to say. I mean, I think if we're talking about talent wise to win the tournament, I mean, I think talent wise, it's still as good as anyone, but is, the back nine of the third round and the entire fourth round, is he going to be hurting, walking? I, I was thinking this the other day, we want to harp on his leg injury, but we completely forget that he's had like 18 back surgeries and all those. So how do those things feel after that amount of time? Your back has a lot to do with your legs. So how is his back handling the extra stress that his legs putting on it? I don't know. I mean, these are just speculation, but I think that if his legs are good, I think he can win any tournament he plays. I think like everything. I still think that 100% healthy Tiger Woods is better than every other person 100%. Um, I truly do. I don't know if I'm crazy for saying that, but I still think irons wise, he's better than everyone. Um, his short game has got to be incredible right now. That's all he can really do a lot. The issue I think he has is that he can't practice a whole bunch. So, he might not be quite as sharp as what we used to see him. He used to, I think they said the only guy that practiced more than him was VJ, and VJ hit just an obscene amount of balls. Like my arms would fall off if I just did one of VJ's. That's just insane to read that. But I think that, if Tiger stays healthy legs wise, I do absolutely think he could win. Obviously, I think it would be a shock, but, that's just from the fact and the excitement of being like, holy shit, Tiger Woods might win the Masters again. But I could see it happening. I mean, you know,
Okay. So he's 80 to 1 this week. So $10 bet
hmm
will win $800.
hmm
Would you bet him to win?
oh, for sure, 100%.
You would. You would. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I think he could win that until he's 60 years old. He's physically, other than his leg, in excellent shape, and he works out. He's going to continue to be. I mean, we've looked at other guys who are. I mean, Bernhard Langer is just as good at golf probably right now as what he was when he was in his 30s winning majors. He just doesn't hit it as far. But I mean, he still wins tons of tournaments. He still, hits plenty of fairways and hits tons of greens. I watched some of the Champions Tour. He's an unbelievable golfer still. So, I mean, Tiger is significantly more physically fit than he is, aside from his leg. Um, I think Tiger could win. I was saying to somebody the other day who's not really a golf fan, they were like, "So do you think Tiger will win the Masters this year?" And, it's kind of a weird thing that, the tournament that I think he probably has the best chance of winning, it's also the one that's probably the hardest one for his body to walk. So, you know, is that going to be his bugaboo where he's going to, get in contention for the first, what is it, 54 or so holes? And then the last 18, he's not capable of, I don't know, and you're saying he's getting stronger and he looks stronger walking. So, I don't know. Maybe this isn't the year. Maybe it is the year. Maybe in 2 years his leg's going to be extremely strong again, and then he's going to come back and just wipe the floor with everybody. I don't know. I hope so.
I think that's fair. The Masters has always been an event where guys who've played the golf course well seemingly know how to get around the golf course. There's a lot of slopes on the greens. There's a lot of places that you've got to hit it because it is a hilly golf course that you've got to pick certain lines. And I think that he knows as good as any person that's ever walked the face of this earth how good or where to put these lines at and everything. So you're right. He's got that what seemingly is home course advantage. It's just you're right, is whether he can walk that golf course. They always say TV doesn't do it justice. I have never been to Augusta. I've been to that area and played golf in that area, and oh my goodness, it is hilly. I mean, it is unbelievable. I can remember junior golf tournaments we'd have between there and between Augusta and Atlanta, somewhere in there, and these were up and down. I mean, there was 50, 70, 100-foot elevation changes from tee to green, and it's just like you don't really realize that. And yeah, and the walking there. So it'll be an interesting thing to see if he can properly rest up his body this week, and play when he needs to play, hit balls when he needs to hit balls, and get that rest so he's okay at Sunday. The one thing when he played the Genesis Invitational in Los Angeles, he played an 18-hole pro-am that Wednesday. So he played and walked 5 days in a row. And I think he was good for the first four, and then he really, really tailed off there. So I think being able to pick his schedule, practice schedule a little bit differently, I think that's certainly going to help. I will not be betting him as a win bet. I think that 80-1 is very, very accurate. Although if I see anything with plus money for him to make the cut, I'm going to bet that plus money. I don't know what it is to make the cut, but I feel pretty comfortable with that. And I could see him finishing in the maybe top 30, possibly top 20. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's even better than that. But I think that's kind of where we're at with him. Is we'll see. He doesn't get enough reps to really see and judge how his golf game is, so we just got to kind of trust that how he's playing at Medalist is getting ready for the tournament there, and once the bell rings, he tees off of the first hole, that he can kind of handle those nerves that we talked about a few minutes ago, like he did in 2019 there. So, I think a lot of it is a struggle, and then all in all, the competition is so much better than when he first started playing. I mean, not taking anything away from him or anything like that, but I think you look at all these guys; they're so good. They're so freaking good, and they don't win as much as Tiger, because I think they don't have that mentality that Tiger had, week in and week out, shot in and shot out. But I think they're just as talented as he was in his peak, but it's going to be a little bit more intermittent on when that's going to come out there. So I think we both agree that it sounds like he's going to make the cut. You think he's going to contend pretty strongly there, and I don't mind that at all. But like I said, I think it's going to be a tough task. I hope I'm wrong. I would absolutely love it if he was in contention on a Sunday there. So we'll see how that goes. But with that being said, let's take a look at some of these lines here. Top three guys: Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Jon Rahm. Plus 700, plus 700, plus 900. Those are some pretty short odds there, and they're the top three in the world. They're clearly the three best players in the world right now. Do any of those numbers there under 10-1? Is that enough to entice you to bet them at the Masters?
No. I do not think either any of them will win. I would take Rom over the other two. I think Scheffler obviously playing well, but it's hard to go back to back. So that to me, everybody on this podcast is gonna say I'm a Scheffler hater. I don't pick him. That's fair, whatever. Uh, but I think that the back to back thing is a difficult thing to do. If he does and he proves me wrong, man, all the more props for him. He's a great guy. I just don't pick him very often. When it comes to Rory, I would like to see Rory complete the career Grand Slam because I do think he's one of the greatest players that's ever played golf, and I would like to see him, in that position and thought of that way. I do not think it's going to happen. I think that he has some issue with this. Not an issue. I just think that somebody always plays a little bit better than him here, and that could be the way that his career goes. And Rom, I just don't think that those odds are good enough to place a bet. I would rather put my money on Woods at 80 to 1 than Rom at 9 to 1. So I don't think a $10 bet on Rom to make 90 is going to be good enough odds for me to put that $10 down when I think that it could be put better on somebody with longer odds as just as good of a chance to win, in my opinion.
Just as good of a
I'm
chance.
not saying Tiger does. I'm just saying that there is somebody down the list
Oh,
that
somebody you're
that
gonna okay,
probably. I'm not
okay,
saying
okay,
Tiger does. I'm just
okay.
saying that
That's fair.
that that inevitably there's. I understand how that came off, but inevitably, there's somebody down the list that probably will be playing as good as him in the week. Inevitably, there always is. So,
Okay. I can't wait to
um,
hear. Okay. Yeah,
so
that works there. So I'm normally off on guys on like 15 to 1 and less for most PJ Tour events. I just don't think there's enough value in betting a guy at like 10 to 1 or less than that, unless and I kind of had to eat my words there with John Rahm because John Rahm was like 13 to 2, plus 650 or something like that. These events, I'm like, no, don't bet him, don't bet him, don't bet. And then he ends up winning the event there.
mhm.
So, it's hard to say with him. But the Masters, I think there's only 10 to 12 players or so that are going to win this event. You're not going to get anybody outside of that. So I think anybody who you think is going to win is going to win. Of the three, I'm going to go John Rahm, and I agree with you on Scheffler. But Scheffler though can just block out last year and
Sure.
just win the damn thing, and like he did in Phoenix, which I think was pretty incredible there. I'm a little with you on Rory as well because there's a lot of scar tissue, and it does seem that way that he can't. It's rare when he's like the best player for that week. There's always somebody playing a little bit better. I think that's very well put, and that kind of makes a lot of sense there. And you still got to make those putts and everything, and he can miss those from time to time. He's playing great golf and everything, and he's he played well at the match play tournament, and so he's hitting good shots and he is putting well. So I don't mind the bet at all. But of the three, I'm gonna go John Rahm. I think I picked him at the beginning of the year to be a guy on a mission. He started that way, tailed off a little bit there, so there is some concern. So I think he was probably sitting at like plus 750 maybe a few weeks ago. He's dropped down to 9 to 1, and I don't love the number, but it's one of those things that he's got a chance to win, so he's going to be on my card there. So, like them all three, but Rahm's the next guy, or Rahm's the guy of those three. The next batch of guys I want to go to are 25 plus 2,500 and less. So we got Pat Cantlay, Jordan Spieth, Tony Finau, JT, Xander, Jason Day, DJ, Cam Smith, Max Homa, and Colin Morikawa. Any of those names that you feel good about betting this week?
A lot of those names I feel good about betting this week. Um, yeah, a lot. I like Finau a lot. I think Finau. I think Finau could have one of those weeks where he goes crazy. I mean, he makes a lot of birdies. He hits the ball plenty far. I think Finau could be due this year for major. it feels like. And maybe it's biased from feeling good about him watching the PGA Tour documentary on Netflix, but I don't know. It just made me really like him. So I think Finau can be good. I like his number as well. I like Cam Smith's number. I do think a lot of the live guys are getting really, really good odds because of the fact that they're live guys. So some of my guys, I get that I'm the live guy, but a lot of my guys on here that I'm betting are going to be live guys. I just think that they have pretty good odds for coming here. So I like Smith. I like Finau. I do not like Spieth this week. I don't know why. I can't give you a definitive reason, but he's just too finicky recently. I mean, he could do the whole thing where he's got the lead until the 1 year, and then he just dunks it on 12, and somebody beats him. So I just don't trust him this year. What was crazy to me is where did Jason Day come from all of a sudden? I mean, Jason Day obviously, past number one in the world, fantastic golfer, had issues with his back and vertigo and some other things, but it is nice to see him up there. But you know, we're going to talk about another guy on the next list that I cannot believe Jason Day has worse odds than or better odds than worse. So I also like Morikawa in that. I think if Morikawa puts well, obviously he can contend in any tournament. So those would be the guys in this list. I'm sure you're going to have a couple different ones, and maybe some of the same. So what are you thinking?
Yeah, the Finau pick I think it's just a good pick. I think this event you almost have to bet him every single year if he's got any kind of form, and I think it's decent. I mean, it hasn't been a great spring for him, but you know Augusta has a way of bringing out some good stuff in people, even when they're not playing well. He's got the length, obviously, that works out well. And if he putts well, yeah, he could definitely be in contention. He could be one of those guys, and we've talked about that back nine where you can make a lot of birdies, where he could be 3 shots, 4 shots back, and he could be 4 or 5 groups ahead of the leaders there and shoot 29 or 30 on the back nine, get the lead, and then just let the final groups just choke it away. So
Yep.
I think that's pretty good there. And at 20 to 1, that's a pretty solid number there. Couple names I like. I like Pat Cantlay. Phil was a fan of Pat Cantlay. He though is kind of a scary guy to bet because he could just be miss the cut bad, or he could just suddenly make everything and play pretty well. And I think he actually started this week closer to 20 to 1, but he's moved up to 16. I think because he was getting a ton of betting, a ton of tickets there. So he's kind of at that point where it's getting close to where it's almost a number that you don't want there. Two guys I'm out of is Justin Thomas and Xander. Xander because the win equity just isn't there. Although 2,200 to 1, that's a little more tempting. I think it's a little bit more fair as far as what he should be. But JT, we've tried it year after year after year, and it seems just that I don't know if he's a good enough putter. He is, but I don't think if he's a consistently good enough putter there. Phil wanted me to mention Jason Day, and the thing with Jason Day is, like you said, he had back issues, vertigo. He had his mom pass away. He had other family members pass away overseas. Was going through just a lot of stuff. He has since switched his golf swing that has taken all the pressure off his back, and he kind of just routes it down the line. And he's always had that good short game. When he was a debutante in 2010 or 2011. He finished second at the Masters in his first one. That's kind of unheard of. He's finished third before. And I think he's kind of a very stylish pick there. Playing great golf. He's going to win this year. He's going to win in 2023. And I've said it, I think I said it a few weeks ago. It's going to happen. Might happen this week. So the number scares me a little bit, but I'm not that scared because, again, I'm going to pick guys who I think are going to win. The other one, guy I really like is Jordan Spieth. Just because I think something brings out the best in him. Now, with Jordan Spieth, when you bet him, you're going to have to ride that train, and that train is going to be a rough ride, and it may crash. I mean, it just may do that, and there's not much you can do about it, and you just have to accept that he could just choke it away. But he's played pretty well, played well at Valspar. He's got some good ball striking there, so I don't mind that. And I was curious on what you thought of like Cam Smith and DJ. It's kind of hard to gauge how they're playing, with the live stuff. I don't think Cam's been playing great kind of after he won the Open Championship. He really hasn't had that many good events there, but the fact that he's getting the reps in and he plays Augusta extremely well. So I don't hate that bet either. I actually did bet him last fall for the Masters. I got around that number there. He hasn't really changed much, but I was like, you know what? This guy's going to probably top 10 it again, which he's done the last couple of years there. So one thing, since we've kind of talked about some of these guys here, I did want to bring up, it was a tweet from Kyle Porter from CBS. He's kind of one of the OGs of the golf Twitter. Says 9 out of the last 11 Masters champions have been 1.7 shots strokes gained tee to green in their last 20 rounds or better. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 guys in that 1.7 shots strokes gained tee to green or better. Scheffler, Rory, Victor Hovland, Collin Morikawa, Cantlay, Cam Young, and Tony Finau are in that group. Just real quick, yes or no, do we see the champion from that group I just mentioned?
Could, but that discounts a whole lot of people.
It does. I just for 9 out of the last 11 have won in that criteria. So there's been 2 that haven't, and this is a completely different year. But yes or no? Do you think it comes out of that? I'm saying no.
I'm saying no as well,
but that's something though that's interesting to look at.
It is, but again, we're not going to do the live and the PGA Tour thing, but there's no live people in that, so obviously
True.
Not accounting for they must not track that on live, and I'm going to say this now. I think a live player wins the Masters, so I think that they truly just want to come out and shut everybody up, and who says that they don't play real golf anymore, and this is the way to do it. My big pick is a guy who I think absolutely wants to shut the PGA Tour up. So
okay,
we'll be talking about him soon.
Okay, so let's look at that list then. Where I think he's going to come from. We're going to go basically 50 to 1 and less. So I got Cam Young, Will Zalatoris, Vic Hovland, Sungjae Im, Sam Burns, Brooks Koepka, Hideki Matsuyama at 40 to 1, Corey Connors, who won last week at Valero, at 40 to 1, Matt Fitzpatrick 45 to 1, and Tyrrell Hatton at 50 to 1. Go ahead.
I think Koepka's going to win.
Okay.
I do. I think that, what I read is that, he obviously just won, so he's in form, and that we could take that for however you want. If live is real golf or not to you, it's depending on how you feel about that. But, he still beat guys that have won majors before and multiple majors and, multiple major winners. So he says he's healthy. A healthy Brooks Koepka the last time he was a force in every major. I think he's got a lot to prove. So I don't know. I just have a feeling about Koepka. It could be Koepka back again, making a run.
Okay, before we go into the other golfers here, let me add to that. I think he very much could win this event. If he's healthy, if that's the big thing is if he got away from that weekend healthy. Yeah, he did win the live event in Orlando. And when he's confident putting the ball, that's kind of his bugaboo. And he's been the best majors player of our of this newer generation here. And every time he got the opportunity to win an event, his putting was great. He was confident and everything like that. I think a lot of us watched Full Swing. We saw the just kind of how he just was very vulnerable in that episode and said, I can't beat these guys. but winning a top shelf event like that and having that momentum carry into the next week, I think is very, very interesting. 35-1, I think it still is a pretty good number there. And it shows the books really don't, I don't know if they're really totally respecting the fact that he won a big time event like that. So I don't mind that at all. And I was going to say, I take a lot of stock in recent play. And if that putter is working, I unfortunately did not catch any of the event, but you got to shoot that low under par, you got to make putts. So, you got to assume that that's the best there. So I don't mind that play. And it sounds like that could be one of your best bets later on here. And we'll see how that's revealed. But yeah, I like that there. Was there anybody else that name stood out or anything like that in that short list?
Let's go through them again if we could, please.
We've got Cam Young, Will Zalatoris, Vic Hovland, Sungjae, Sam Burns, Hideki, Corey Connors, Matt Fitzpatrick, and Tyrrell Hatton.
I mean, I think Kim Young absolutely has the game to win. I think he has the game to win everywhere. It's just a matter of, is he going to putt well enough at Augusta? And I don't know that we've figured that out. He could be a guy that can maximize on all of his other talents and then make putts at Augusta, win a couple Masters. I mean, he certainly has a talent, but I think for me, we're too early in his tenure when it comes to Augusta for we've discussed this already. Augusta is a golf course that you can almost already know who's going to play well there because they do it year after
Yep.
year. And I just don't think that I have enough views of him at Augusta to let me know how he's going to do. So give me a couple years, maybe I'll have confidence in him. But when it comes to Augusta, I'm kind of more of a show me. If you've shown me, I'm going to feel a little bit more confident in you. So with him, I mean, if he comes out and we're talking next week and we're like, hey, congratulations, it's not going to be a surprise, but I'm also not going to put money on him. I just don't know.
I think it's fair. I think the putting is just you're not sure, but game seems to be coming around. He's got Paul Tesori on the bag, had him for the match play, played great up until that last round there against Sam Burns. So, he's got all the physical tools. It's just a matter of him getting that experience. Maybe Tesori will be able to help him out a little bit with the greens with some confidence. Kind of love him on a top 10 bet plus 260, and he's going to probably be plus odds on a top 20 as well. So I don't think he's going to win, but I definitely think a guy that I like that's going to be in contention, possibly come Sunday there. So it's something I think that you want to look at, something you feel comfortable with. If you're a top 10 guy or top 20 guy, whatever you get in plus odds with him, I think is a real good one there. So. Got a couple other names in that group. I don't love really any of them to win. Sungjae Im maybe, but at 35-1, if you give me the choice of Brooks or Sungjae Im, I'm going to bet Brooks this week. They're at the same odds. But again, Sungjae's not a bad option in that top 10 or top 20, something like that. Another guy who plays well here all the time is Corey Connors. Unbelievable ball striker, really bad putter. Found a way to win though this last week here in Texas with his ball striking. So the ball striking's there. Is he going to win 2 weeks in a row? I don't think so. I see you agree with me there. But I mean, making the cut, finishing in the top 20, he might be a guy that's going to find a way on my card there. So a couple others here we'll get in a little rapid fire buy or sell, but let's go down the list here. So basically anyone else at 5,500 and more. We got the names of like Tommy Fleetwood, Shane Lowry, Justin Rose, Jaco Niemann, Pat Reed. We got Tiger at 80-1. We got Mito Pereira at 90-1. And we can go down the list there. Was there any other names that you liked either in a win or a top 20-ish bet?
Oh, sure. I think there's a lot of other people that have a lot of value. Not that I think this person is going to win. I'm just saying that when I saw their number, I thought it was crazy. I thought Oosthuizen's number is pretty crazy for here. He may not be playing fantastic right now. His scores may not look great, but he always plays well here. I mean, always plays well here. So I think his number there, throw a small little bet down there, a meaningless $2 bet, and he hits, you make pretty good money there. I think Adam Scott's top 20 number of plus 260 is pretty good. Adam Scott plays well here as well. I think Tiger's top 10 number of plus 550 is fantastic. I know that we've already talked about him, but I think that's a great number. Uh, Oosthuizen's top 10 number of plus 750 is pretty good
Yeah,
as well to me. So,
that's tasty.
yeah, that one is pretty crazy. I guess, really those are kind of what stood out to me. Um, I think that you can go down the top 20 and the top 40 list and find somebody there always that you can feel fairly confident in. You're not going to make potentially a whole bunch of money, but I think you can always find somebody in the top 20 and top 40 list that, if you just want a little skin in the game that you can find there. So I'm more of a top 10, top 20, top 40 better. I think you guys bet more the winners, than what I do, but I just struggle to put all my fish in one basket. It's a struggle for me in that. But yeah, I would say Watson. I mean, Watson's number is pretty insane for a two-time winner, but at the same time, just coming back from an injury, not necessarily playing well, not playing a lot. But at the same time, his top 10 number is plus 1400 right now. So, for a two-time winner, another small bet. I don't have any delusions that he's going to win though. So there's that. Yourself, do you like anybody down there?
There's some names that look kind of tempting. Justin Rose has always played well on this golf course here. I like plus 5,500. I don't think he's going to win the Masters, but I think he can definitely contend. I don't mind him for a first round lead bet either. When he gets it going, when he gets that putter going, he can go. But this is a big deal for him, and I think that win at Pebble Beach earlier this year kind of revitalized him. The game hasn't been spectacular, but sometimes it just takes driving down Magnolia Lane for some of these guys just to rekindle that those memories of Masters past when they've played well. And Justin Rose has probably had the chance to win at least one, if not a couple, different Masters tournaments. So I think I kind of like him in some capacity this week. There, you make good points about Louis Oosthuizen, Adam Scott. I'm not sure if I'm going to put them on my card, but seeing 100 to 1 for both of those guys is kind of interesting. I was actually quite shocked with Bryson being at 110 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I know he really hasn't had that good of a record here, so maybe that's more appropriately priced, but you wouldn't think that he'd have a worse chance than some of these guys, that are ahead of him here. But that might if you think he's going to make the cut, and I don't really know how he's been playing on the Live Tour. So I don't want to say, yeah, let's go for it. That number is probably pretty appropriate there. One guy I did like, where is he at? And as a first round lead bet, Minwoo Lee. I think as he plays more in these American events and I know he's played well in a little bit here. I think Players Championship, he had a good event. Very, very talented player. Good putter, and just kind of plays a fearless type of golf. And I think he's a guy who can make a lot of birdies and he could score pretty well. I think there's going to be a lot of bogeys and whatnot with it. So I don't know if I feel comfortable with him down the stretch of a win, but he's another guy like for first round lead. One guy I want to like, but I've got to look more at the weather forecasts is Abraham Answer. He's not a long hitter, so he doesn't really fit the profile of a guy who can win here, but his short game is really good, and he's a good iron player as well. The issue is they're talking about weather that's going to be coming in on Friday with some potential storms, which could saturate the golf course. And then you're looking at cold temperatures over the weekend. They're only looking at like low 60s as the high for the weekend there. So it might end up being something that might be a little bit too big for him. When we look at the best bets and everything like that, in the next couple of days, we'll look at the weather forecast and everything like that. But and then I was going to mention Bubba, even if it's a make the cut, if he get anything in some plus money, the Augusta fits the profile of a guy who hits it of a left-handed player because they can fade it into a lot of the holes rather than hit the draws, and I think that's a big deal there. So, it's something that that's why he's won 2 of them, and I don't think he's going to win this week. But you got to look at the course experience when you get this low. These Masters rookies or the guys who only have 1 to 2 years experience, you just don't even know where they're going to finish because you don't know how comfortable they feel on the golf course because it's just a little bit different than like the Valero Texas Open on how this week is approached here.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
One of the last things I wanted to do is a little rapid fire buy sell. So, do you have a list of guys or not? If not, that's fine. I got a list.
mean, you can.
I'm going to name some names
for buy sell.
Yeah, I'm going to name some players, and this week, if you're gonna buy them in any bets, or if you would fade them or not bet them, that would be the sell. So just guys that you like or dislike. So, first name Collin Morikawa.
I'd buy that.
Okay, I'm going to sell it because of the putting. I'm just not comfortable with what he's doing. Jason Day sounds like he's a buy, right?
He would be a buy. I don't know if I'd buy him at that number. I haven't seen enough, but he's a buy as a top 10, top 20 bet potentially, depending on what his number is. He's kind of a neutral for me. Yeah. I don't really know. I like him obviously, but I can't. I don't know that I'd buy him.
I think he's been hyped. He's been hyped so much that it's hard at that number that they get him. But I still think he's going to have a good week, and he likes the golf course and he's healthy, so he's a buy for me. Will Zalatoris.
That's a sell. That is a sell. It would not be me on this podcast if it was a buy. He's a sell. He's going to be a sell every time that he comes to Augusta because he can't putt. So if we're
second to Hideki.
Yeah, I understand that, but he didn't win, did he?
No, he did not win.
Just like he hasn't won any of the majors that he continuously does not make the putt that he needs to and then doesn't win them. He's a great player. He just doesn't make enough putts. I know a lot of people that are great players don't make enough putts. It happens. It just happens to be him.
Phil is listening to this right now, and he's got a big smile on his face and just shaking his head.
Of course he knew this was going to happen.
He knew this was going to happen.
He literally probably sent you a message that said, make sure you ask Zach about Will Zalatoris.
No, I knew that was going to be the answer.
Comments coming.
But I specifically put him on the list because I wanted to say he is normally a buy for me in any major. After what I've seen from him for some of these events here, we always talked about the struggle with the putter and how he didn't look comfortable over it. And I always said, don't worry about it. He knows where the putt, he knows it's a bad stroke. He knows it's going to go in. He's not making those putts now. And that's going to eventually, it's going to leak into his full swing. I did bet him last fall for the Masters. I think I earned a free bet or something like that. So I put some money on him because I was like, this guy's going to win a major this year. And I don't feel comfortable at all with him. I'm not going to touch him. I'm not going to touch him in any matchups. I'm really not going to fade him either. But with the putting is a legit concern, and if you're not feeling it by 100% here, then you can forget about it. So I'm going to jump on that boat and sell it as well. What's your thought on Justin Rose? I was a buy.
I'm going to be a sell on Justin Rose this week, only from the aspect of I think there's many people I would buy previous to him. He's playing good. I'm glad to see him starting to get back in form. I just think it's a little too early. I don't think I'm just going to sell him.
Okay. What about Matthew Fitzpatrick?
I will sell because of the weather. I don't think he hits it far enough right now. And although he did win a major, I just think there are people that play this golf course better than him. I think this is a course for the horses, and I think that there are stronger horses than him at this golf course.
I agree. I mean, his golf game is bad right now. He's missing cuts at regular PGA Tour events. And I think, I thought he was going to really flop in the match play, end up winning a match or something like that. But I don't feel good about him at all. Tommy Fleetwood.
He always plays really, really well here. I would say I'm neutral on that one as well. I'm not going to put my money on it, but I think he's a guy that could have the low round of the tournament if it happens. He always seems to have one round where he shoots like 63, 64 somewhere. But he's another guy who has never won and does not seem to be able to pull it out. So until he does, I have to fade him.
I'm gonna fade him as well, but he's a guy I generally kind of root for. I just don't think that putting is good enough
Definitely root
there.
for him.
Yeah, I don't think that putting is good.
I have one for you.
Who's that?
Max Homa. We haven't talked about him a whole lot.
We have not talked about Max. We haven't talked
So-
about Max.
What's your thoughts?
I did bet him right while he was winning his I think his most recent event. I got really good odds on him, and I was like, I actually bet him in all the majors there. That's the one thing that he kind of hasn't done yet is shown up in the major championships and been in contention. If he's up there and somewhere near the lead, I love it. I would still probably no, I'm not gonna say probably. I would still buy him if I didn't already have a bet on him. I think it's just a matter of time, and I want to be there when it happens. So, his odds, what's he at here? He is at plus 2,500. That's not bad. That's okay. I think it's pretty fair to say he's been one of, top 5 player in the world here the last like 4 or 5 months. So I'm going to buy him just for the fact that I trust him if he gets in contention there. You?
I just think he's cool as a cucumber. I mean, I just think that he's got so much moxie that I think he could win anywhere. I like him. I like him as a player. I like his Twitter. I think he's great for the game. So I root for him. He's definitely a player that's grown on me. I never had any issue with him, but the more and more that I watch him and listen to him, I think he's great for the game. In the same way that I think Ricky was great for the younger generation 10 years ago, I think he's really, really good for the game. I think he's bringing a lot of the younger generation in that maybe isn't so staunchy and so, classic about the way that they're approaching golf. And I think that he's bringing people in with humor and, just kind of a fun, younger aspect of a way to play. So I like him. I would like to see him win a major. I'd like to see him win a couple majors and kind of catapult to more of a stardom type rank with everybody. I just think that he's a likable guy that really could help golf for the next 20 years.
Yeah, this podcast is a big fan of Max for his golf game. I mean, he's got that killer instinct there, that finish him type sort of golf personality, and he's a closer. So it's just a matter of stepping up his game when the lights are on, the majors are there. And yeah, you're right. Is off the golf course, his perspective on understanding just golf, like the PGA Tour, what makes it successful, and the relatable to the common fan is really, really good. So I'm a fan of him anyways, on and off the golf course, and continue to be. And I would want nothing more than to see a win there. I got one more name here, and then we can move on. Is I think he finished second or third at the Live event. Is Patrick Reed?
I'll sell. He's played well here. He's not one of the Live guys that I think is going to hold up. I think that I understand why he went. He's not liked on the tour and all those things, and the money was great and whatnot. But I don't know that. I think he needs the competitiveness to keep him going. Like I think he needs that divisiveness, and I don't think he gets it on Live. I think who hates him on Live? They're all rich now, so I mean, who cares? They're all like the black sheep of what the tour was. So they're trying to make Patrick Cantlay the bad guy now, he's like so vanilla, it's ridiculous. So yeah, I don't know. No, maybe I know that I've kind of been a Reed guy here, and that might be surprising, but no, not this one. I don't feel it. He'll probably win it, but no, I don't.
I'm going to sell him on my betting card, but I want nothing more than for him and Brooks Koepka to be within the last 3 or 4 groups on Sunday. I would love that, to have, you got your guys like Rahm and Rory and whatever, and then to have Patrick Reed and Brooks Koepka in there, just the villains, and just to see how that dynamic plays out. I think that would be riveting TV. It would be just unbelievable viewing on a Sunday, and I hope that something like that would happen, because then we got to have you back on the podcast to talk about how how the live guys did versus the PGA Tour, and I think that would that'd be some good stuff all around, just not only TV, then the podcast and everything. So I think that'd be really, really fun there. So I'm going to sell him this week. There's just not enough of a sample size, like you said. He kind of thrives on the a lot of competition, and I just don't think there's enough reps of that intense competition that he craves and feeds off of is there. But it's just something interesting. Really haven't heard about him for several months with any kind of a finish in any golf tournament, and now happened to play well here the week before the Masters. So maybe there is something with his game there. Couple guys that I see. I'm reading the text from Phil. It says buying Jason Day. All good play is leading into something substantial, and Jordan Spieth. Track record, really solid play in 2023. Guys, he is selling Justin Thomas. He never sells Justin Thomas. But you know what?
Understandable,
You got to kind of do it at this point. I mean, he's just disappointed especially in the Masters year after year after year. And it doesn't feel like it's a Justin Thomas week here. Vic Hovland, because of the short game, the chipping, that obviously that exposes the golfers. And then Matt Fitzpatrick kind of trashed this season, is what he said. So,
okay.
With that being said, so a couple more things, and we'll make it quick, and then we'll round it up here. Who is your top player that will definitely not win this week? And Phil chose Xander Schauffele.
Zach will choose Will Zalatoris.
Will Zalatoris, okay. And mine is going to be Rory McIlroy. Rory's not going to win this week. I did bet him, so I kind of faded myself there. But I'm going to go on a limb and say he will not win this week. So if you haven't bet him, and you like my picks, then don't do it. And finally, the winner of the 2023 Masters, according to Phil, Pat Cantlay, will slip on the green jacket. And without further ado, who are you? I think we kind of know, but who is it? You're gonna have to announce it.
Koepka. Brooks
Koepka. Wow, as your best number one pick. I don't hate it. Like I said, I'm trying to dispute it, but that's going out there, and that's good. I'm going to pick for the 2023 winner. It's going to be Jordan Spieth. He's going to figure out a way, and it's Easter Sunday. He's won twice, 2 different events on Easter Sunday, and we're going to go with that. So that is the conclusion of the Your Best Bet podcast minus Phil Miller. Check us out, or first, Zach, thanks for coming on. I hope we get to enjoy a good week of golf here.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead.
I just want to say that as I was looking about this and we were having this conversation, I was having this dialogue in the back of my head, and I think I've been saying this on most of the podcasts. I want a live golfer to win this tournament. All right, I want to see, I want to see the PGA Tour blow up and just their brains explode. I want to see all the Golf Channel and all that. But what it made me realize is I saw a meme today on Facebook of Tiger Woods playing golf, and it made me realize how much I love Tiger Woods, because I would rather see Tiger Woods win again than a live player win and see everything explode. So to me, that just shored up how much Tiger Woods has meant to me when it comes to golf. Really, the first time that I just remember being at the lake when I was very young, and my dad being like, "Hey, you need to come and see this." And for him, he was a young kid, but for me, a little older than me, he's going to be something special. And I think that was, maybe when he was winning his 3rd junior major. So, as much as I want, live versus PGA Tour and all that, and I would like to see a live guy win, just for the simple fact of I think it would be funny to see the reaction of everybody. If Tiger Woods wins this tournament, it's going to be one of the greatest days of my life. So I'm excited. Just like 2019 was. I hope to recreate the feeling that I had that day watching the final round.
Okay,
It would be
that's
awesome.
so you're rooting for chaos with with
Hmm.
the live winner, and Greg Norman said he's going to have all 17 of the other
Hmm.
players, at right off the green there to be able to celebrate with him. But Tiger over everything. I agree with you on the Tiger thing. I
Hmm.
can't say I agree with the live stuff,
Sure.
but we know that. But yeah, Tiger would be just amazing if he could do it. I stated earlier that the expectations I don't think are quite there, but the golf game, the golf game's gonna get there. Hopefully, where he's going to be in contention, but
Mhm.
it should be a good dramatic weekend as the Masters always is, and I can't wait. I absolutely can't wait. I'm gonna probably sit and not do that much and just watch the coverage and hope for another good Masters and everything. So with that being said, thanks for hopping on here and helping me out. I hopefully we made Phil proud, but you can catch us. We'll have this posted out Monday night, so we're gonna get our picks in. I hope by our traditional Wednesday afternoon. But we're on Spotify, we're on Apple iTunes, and we're gonna have this posted to YouTube as well. So thanks for listening, everybody. Enjoy the Masters this year, and we'll catch you guys later.